Right now, inside your body, there is a machine built to handle poison. It is old, far older than farming, older than fire, older than your species. It sits in your mouth, your throat, your gut, waiting for one specific chemical to arrive. And when that chemical shows up, your body doesn't panic. It gets to work, calmly, expertly, like it has done this 1,000,000 times before. That chemical is alcohol. So here is the strange question almost nobody asks. If drinking is supposed to be a modern vice, a thing of bars and bottles and bad decisions, then why does your body already know exactly what to do with it? The answer goes back so far it happens before the first human was ever born. To find humanity's first drink, forget the cave, forget the campfire. Go further back, into a warm forest 10 million years ago, long before anyone stood upright and called themselves human. Down on the forest floor, the fruit is falling. Ripe figs, split open plums, soft, bruised, sitting in the heat. And the moment that fruit breaks open, something invisible moves in. Yeast, tiny, everywhere eating the sugar and turning it into something new. Ethanol, alcohol, the exact same chemical in every drink humans would ever make. Nobody brewed it. Nobody wanted it. The forest was fermenting all on its own, and the ground was littered with fruit that had quietly gone tipsy in the sun. For most animals, that was a problem. Eat too much of the rotten stuff, get dizzy, get clumsy, get eaten. Alcohol is a poison, and out here, being drunk means being dead. But one group of primates, the ancestors we share with chimps and gorillas, carried a tiny accident in their blood. A single change, one letter rewritten in one gene, a protein called ADH4. And that one change let them do something almost nothing else could. Break alcohol down, not a little faster, 40 times faster. Suddenly, the fallen fruit wasn't a trap, it was a feast. All that fermented food on the ground, food other animals had to avoid, our ancestors could eat and survive. The smell of alcohol drifting up from the forest floor stopped being a warning. It became the smell of dinner. Think about what that means. The attraction came first. The drink came much, much later. For millions of years, the animals that would one day become us were guided by a signal. That faint, sweet, sharp smell of fruit tipping over into alcohol meant calories, meant sugar, meant survival. Follow the smell, find the food. We didn't learn to like alcohol. We were built to chase it, because chasing it kept us alive. This is the idea scientists call the drunken monkey, that our taste for a drink isn't a modern flaw. It's an ancient inheritance, a survival tool. 10 million years old, still wired into the reward centers of your brain. Which is why, all this time later, a sip can still feel like a small reward. Your body is running a program it wrote in the trees, long before it had any idea what a bar was. But knowing where the craving came from is only half the story, because for millions of years, humans just found alcohol by accident. The day everything changed was the day we learned to make it on purpose. Come forward now, 9.5 million years forward, to a cave on a hillside in what is now northern Israel. The Ice Age is loosening its grip. The people here are called the Natufians, hunters and gatherers, right on the edge of a brand new idea, staying in one place. And inside this cave, Raqefet, archaeologists found something carved into the stone floor. Holes, deep, smooth pits ground into the bedrock, stone mortars, and soaked into the rock 13,000 years later were the microscopic traces of starch, grain that had been soaked, mashed, and left to ferment. This is the oldest beer we have ever found, not a rich king's luxury, not a city. This is a beer brewed by hunter-gatherers, people who hadn't even truly started farming yet, and they weren't drinking it to get through a bad day. They were drinking it with the dead. The mortars sat among graves. The best guess is that this beer was made for the funeral feast, a thick, sour, porridge-like brew shared over the bodies of the people they had lost, to gather, to grieve, to send someone off. The very first beer we can find was poured at a goodbye. And this flips something we thought we knew. For a long time, the story went, humans settled down, planted grain, made bread. And then, one day, someone left the dough out too long and discovered beer by accident. But sites like this hint at something wilder. What if it was the other way around? What if we didn't farm grain for bread? We farmed it for beer. What if the thing that made us give up the wandering life and put down roots and build the first villages wasn't hunger at all? What if it was the drink? Whatever the reason, once it started, it never stopped. Roll forward a few thousand years to a village called Jiahu in China. 9,000 years ago, people there were mixing something remarkable in clay jars. Rice, honey, hawthorn fruit, grape. All of it fermenting together into one of the oldest recipes on Earth. By now, this isn't an accident anymore. This is a craft. Different people, different continents, no contact between them, all reaching for the same thing. Fruit, grain, honey, anything with sugar, coaxed into alcohol. Then comes mead, honey and water, wild yeast, probably older than beer itself, though it left almost nothing behind for us to dig up. Then wine, then everything after. Everywhere humans went, we carried it. Into temples where it became sacred, into medicine, into every feast, every wedding, every funeral, every deal sealed with a shared cup. A drink to celebrate, a drink to mourn, a drink to make a stranger a friend. The same chemical the forest made by accident 10 million years ago. We spent the next 10,000 years turning into ritual. So, when did humans first drink alcohol? The honest answer is, we never started. We inherited it. The craving was already there, 10 million years deep, written into a single gene by a forest full of fallen fruit. We were chasing that smell before we had hands to hold a cup, before we had words to name what we felt. All we ever did was learn to make more of it, and then build our gatherings, our grief, and our gods around the feeling. Tonight, somewhere, someone will raise a glass without a single thought about where the urge came from. But it came from the trees, from the rot on the forest floor, from an ancestor with a lucky mutation, eating something they probably shouldn't have. You come from the ones who chased that smell and lived. There's another thing your ancient body still does that makes no sense until you go back far enough to see why. And that story is waiting for you, right here on screen. Click it. This has been Bones and Firelight.